This is Dr.RED Panda.
Why were the Mongols able to unify the Eurasian continent and establish the largest contiguous empire in world history? How did they rise to power? And what gave them such formidable fighting strength? Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Red Panda. In this episode, let's explore these questions together. Let's dive straight into the main content, starting with the historical background. During this period, the ruling dynasty in the Central Plains was the Northern Song dynasty. The Northern Song faced two formidable enemies, the Liao dynasty to the north and the Western Xia to the west. Subsequently, the Jurchen tribes in the eastern part of the Liao dynasty rose to power, overthrowing their former overlords, the Liao, and establishing the Jin dynasty as the new dominant force in the north. Many of Liao's former vassals quickly shifted their allegiance to the Jin, including some Mongol tribes. At this time, the Mongol tribes were still in a state of fragmentation. Their daily life mainly involved herding, eating meat, wrestling, and occasionally fighting among themselves, each tribe living its own separate existence. The rise of the Mongol Empire. In 1162, on the grasslands, a tribal leader named Yasujii of the Borjigin clan captured the leader of another tribe, Temujin. Around this time, Yasujii's wife gave birth to a son. While pondering what name to give his son, Yasujii noticed the captured Temujin, who continued to curse loudly despite being a prisoner. With a sly smile, Yasujii decided to name his son Temujin, perhaps as a way of symbolically making his enemy call him father. As an adult, the clever Temujin, through his exceptional military skills, formidable strength, and unique personal charisma, quickly unified the various tribes across the grasslands, establishing the Mongol Empire. As the leader of Mongolia, Temujin was honored with the title of Genghis Khan. The Mongols who waged wars everywhere. After unifying the various Mongol tribes, expanding territory became Genghis Khan's sole objective. He once told his ambitious sons, driven by strong desires, "The greatest joy for a man is to defeat his enemies, take their wealth, ride their swift horses, and possess their beautiful wives and concubines." It was under this intense drive that the Mongol Empire flourished. Initially, Genghis Khan's neighbors suffered the consequences. The Jin dynasty, Western Liao, and Western Xia, as we have previously mentioned. The Western Liao were remnants of the former Liao Empire that had not been entirely eradicated and had fled westward. Originally, there was no animosity between the Western Liao and Mongolia. However, when Genghis Khan unified Mongolia, a man named Kuchulugu, who had a vendetta, fled to Western Liao. Initially inconsequential, Kuchulugu's handsome appearance worked to his advantage, swiftly winning the heart of a Western Liao princess. Subsequently, Kuchulugu orchestrated the usurpation of the Western Liao throne. As he reveled in his newfound imperial glory, Genghis Khan learned of these developments. Perplexed, he wondered how a defeated prince could marry into wealth and ascend to the pinnacle of life. Did he possess the protagonist's script? To prevent Kuchulugu from becoming a threat to Mongolia's western frontier, Genghis Khan decisively moved first. After conquering Western Liao, the Mongols encountered another country further west called Khwarezm. Initially, Genghis Khan had no particular thoughts about this new neighbor because he was preoccupied with subduing the Jin dynasty while handling the aftermath of Western Xia. He sought to cultivate friendly relations with Khwarezm and even dispatched a commercial caravan of over 400 people as a gesture of goodwill. However, upon reaching the Khwarezmian city of Otrar, the governor, Ha'il Khan, seized the caravan's goods out of greed and falsely accused the merchants of espionage, then executed them all. When news of this reached Genghis Khan, he was angered but initially refrained from immediate conflict. Instead, he sent 3 emissaries to demand justice, but they too were killed. This final act of treachery pushed Genghis Khan over the edge. Despite the ongoing campaign against the Jin dynasty, which was on the brink of collapse under Mongol attack, Genghis Khan redirected his focus and led a massive army of 100,000 soldiers westward to retaliate against Khwarezm. This incident illustrates how Genghis Khan's fury was ignited by Khwarezm's betrayal, prompting him to decisively shift his military might towards punishing the Khwarezmian rulers for their disrespect and aggression. Facing the onslaught of the Mongol army, the first target was Erzurum, where Ha'il Khan, responsible for killing Mongol merchants, resided. Aware that the conflict stemmed from his actions, Ha'il Khan anticipated that Erzurum would be the Mongols' focal point. He summoned reinforcements to defend the city, but upon the Mongol army's arrival, he realized his mistake. Surrounding Erzurum were the elite forces of Mongol princes Chagatai and Ogedai. Determined to resist to the end, Ha'il Khan withstood several Mongol assaults, holding the city for 5 months. He initially succeeded in trapping the Mongol cavalry, but Genghis Khan, despite his anger, strategized calmly. He divided his forces, launching lightning attacks on Khwarezmian cities to sustain his vast army. After capturing other strongholds, he prioritized massacres to sustain momentum. After 5 months, Erzurum fell, and Ha'il Khan was captured. The Mongols punished him with the gruesome execution known as death by molten silver, where liquid silver was poured into Ha'il Khan's ears and nostrils, causing excruciating agony until he died from the scalding. Afterward, the Mongol army swept through like a storm. In just 2 years, they reached the capital of Khwarezm, Samarkand. The Sultan of Khwarezm, Muhammad, fled west in advance. Genghis Khan dispatched his trusted generals, Jebe and Subutai, in relentless pursuit. They chased him all the way to Azerbaijan, Georgia, and even crossed the Caucasus into Europe. In 1223, they decisively defeated a coalition of Kipchaks and Russians. This campaign marked the Mongols' first Western expedition, leading to the complete conquest of much of Central Asia. After extinguishing Khwarezm, Genghis Khan deemed the Western Xia a nuisance amidst conflicting powers and repeatedly sought pretexts to conquer them. However, during these campaigns, Genghis Khan, now advanced in years, fell ill and passed away. Subsequently, the Mongols moved south to conquer the Jin dynasty. Buoyed by their success against Khwarezm, they realized that compared to the eastern kingdoms they had fought for decades, the western states seemed remarkably weaker. Thus, with a spirit of seizing the moment and not idling away, the Mongols fully unleashed their ambitions. In 1235, the Second Mongol Western Campaign began, led by Batu, the grandson of Genghis Khan. Under his command were the eldest sons and grandsons of the Mongol Khans, including Gayuk, the eldest son of Ogedai, and Monk, the eldest son of Talyui. This campaign, also known as the Elder Sons Western Campaign, saw the Mongols employ their traditional military prowess, wielding the Whip of God. They not only conquered the East European plains, including Kiev and the Rus, but also pushed into Europe, reaching as far as Hungary. In 1256, during Monk's reign, the Third Western Campaign occurred, primarily targeting the Middle Eastern regions encompassing present-day Arabia, Iraq, and Syria. Subsequently, as history unfolded, Kublai Khan, another grandson of Genghis Khan, concentrated Mongol forces against the final stronghold in the east, the Southern Song dynasty. In 1279, the last resistance from the remnants of the Southern Song's maritime exile was extinguished, marking the near completion of the Mongol conquest across the Eurasian continent. The reasons behind the formidable might of the Mongol cavalry. In history, the emergence of the most powerful empires has been notable. While empires spanning across Eurasia, and even Afro-Eurasia, have existed, none have matched the continuous vastness of the Mongol Empire. Why were the Mongols uniquely capable of this achievement? Due to space constraints, I will focus briefly on their military prowess. Firstly, it's crucial not to perceive the Mongols as mere barbarians, as this would not only underestimate the Mongols themselves but also the nations they conquered. Similar to other historically dominant military forces, the Mongol army was exceptionally well organized, disciplined, trained, tactically advanced, and led by exceptional commanders. In essence, the Mongols were highly adept at warfare. However, many other nations in history have also demonstrated prowess in warfare. So why did they not conquer the world like the Mongols did? So Mongolia must have had qualities that others lacked, and this characteristic was their way of war. The destructiveness of the Mongol Empire in external warfare was formidable. After a conquest, the rebuilding and stabilization of the conquered territories were left to the successors after the land was granted to them. Although this approach swiftly granted them vast territories and amassed great wealth in the short term, it inevitably sowed seeds of future calamity. How did the Mongol military conduct warfare? Sacking cities was routine for the Mongols. For cities that resisted, once breached, everyone, whether noble or commoner, except for a few craftsmen, was slaughtered. Sacking was particularly frequent in Europe because of its feudal autonomy. As the whole city was considered their own, they fiercely defended it. This aspect is documented in Chinese historical records. The Mongol military, where their army went, they did not spare any who resisted, they slaughtered all. Why are the Mongols so keen on massacring cities? Firstly, it's to instill fear. The very mention of Mongol arrival strikes terror into enemies' hearts. Secondly, killing most of the inhabitants secures the rear, making it less prone to rebellion. However, we must recognize that Mongol city slaughter has always been a means to deter foes rather than an end. Its main purpose is to save on the cost of attacking the next city. Additionally, there's a crucial reason: surrender. Being a nomadic people, the Mongols have population limits. Historical estimates suggest their army rarely exceeds 200,000 troops. Hence, their strategy often involves massacring cities to intimidate enemies and encourage surrender. Once surrendered forces join, they lead attacks while Mongol cavalry executes strategic maneuvers rather than direct assaults. The phrase, "while the troops remain stationary, provisions advance ahead," doesn't quite apply to the Mongols. The vanguard of the Mongol army doesn't need to carry provisions or logistical support personnel. This is due to the dietary habits of steppe peoples. Well-known foods like dried beef, yogurt, cheese, and fermented mare's milk can be stored for long periods and are nutritionally dense. These foods not only fill the stomach but also provide essential nutrients for the Mongol army. Dried beef, a favorite among their provisions, combines taste, nutrition, and portability, allowing them to eat while on the move. Once settled, they only need to boil water to make a fragrant beef soup. Additionally, they sustain themselves through plunder after capturing cities, essentially living off the spoils of war. Thus, for the Mongols, operating independently deep into enemy territory is the norm, as they continue to sustain their army through conquest. The reason why the Mongol army could traverse thousands of miles across the Eurasian continent lies fundamentally in their singular aim: conquest, conquest, and more conquest. Originating from the steppe, these formidable warriors pursued victory at all costs, without concern for occupation or governance. Anything that stood in their way was mercilessly slaughtered and razed, without any moral restraint or hesitation. This relentless pursuit allowed the Mongol Empire to expand vastly. However, once their conquests ceased, all glory swiftly dissipated into obscurity. And that's a wrap for this episode of the video. I'm DR.RED Panda. If any of you have your own perspectives, or if you think there are any errors in the video, feel free to leave a comment in the discussion section. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, take care.